Awesome. So shadow plays. So remember, you got like all these old ponies like Star Swirl the Bearded, Rockhoof, Flash Magnus, Somnambula, Mage Meadowbrook, the Pony of Shadows, like everybody that we sort of heard about, and that we told stories about, like that's sort of the idea of they were like this mastermind before, right? And so like a long time ago, they had this really, really strong connection with one another. And so it was sort of like with Twilight and her friends, right? This idea that as a group, they're so strong. And so like thousands and thousands of years ago, these guys were like the main six of their time, right? They were like the big, powerful group of friends for their time. And so because they all came together and they all had their individual strengths, they made a really strong team, which is like the coolest thing ever, right? And that's the point, is that they come together and they have like a lot of power. And these guys are remembered for thousands of years as a collective group because they work together and they leverage their strengths as a team to have huge impact and do really big things. So you might be asking, okay, well, what were some of the big things they did? Well, sort of towards their end of their careers, they had this pony called the Pony of Shadows, right? And it was like this big, evil monster guy. And basically it was like this little guy who wanted to, join their group and like, be magic. And society around him, they kind of dejected him and they pushed him away. And he just like didn't have success initially. And instead of like, pushing forward and trying to persist and go hard, and to fulfill his maximum potential just, by persistent and consistent pursuit of his potential. Instead, what he did was he turned to like this evil force, and he turned to the shortcut, right? Remember this idea like the shortcut is always going to freaking crush everything. So he takes this shortcut by like having this evil, whatever, and he becomes like this super huge like evil Pony of Shadows, right? And that's the idea. So at the beginning he was just like a normal guy, but he like took on this evil force and became like this huge, powerful Pony of Shadows, but like it just corrupts himself, and it corrupts his body and his mind, and everything just kind of gets destroyed internally because he's trapped by this now evil force that basically just kind of crushes who he is, and instead basically possesses him as like this huge demon monster. And so like that's sort of the story that gets told throughout history. And it's what everyone focuses on, and it's what Sunburst is like reading about in this huge journal as they come together, sort of towards the beginning of this episode. And Twilight comes; she wants to sort of understand some of the spells that Star Swirl wrote, and if she can understand the spells, her goal is to go and then understand how to undo the spells, because she wants these guys back, right? And so these guys are like super cool, and so she wants to kind of meet these guys because they're like super cool, and so. She studies the spell. She understands it. She realizes that like she can sort of reverse it. And this is the spell again that they use to trap this guy, this evil pony of spirits, in like an eternal limbo. So this idea that like there's like purgatory and heaven, all that crap. And there's like limbo, and so they sort of like just trapped him in this like eternal state of limbo, while also trapping themselves in this eternal state of limbo. So they like sacrificed basically their entire futures and their entire lives of these 6 individuals for the betterment of like all of society, so that everybody could live in peace and this guy wouldn't take over the world and kill everybody. And so they did such a powerful thing, and they had this like short-term loss, this short-term pain, and what it did is it allowed literally the entire world to thrive and the entire world to gain, which is just such a powerful, noble thing to do. And it was just so cool. You have to realize that like that's what changes everything for so many people, is if you can make this sacrifice and be yourself and let everybody else win because of it, which is so cool. And so as they sacrificed themselves and they all like put themselves in purgatory, what they had to do is they had to sort of find like a place where they could actually like trap this guy. And so they got like this huge open area, and there's like 6 pillars, right? Since there's 6 of them. And with these 6 pillars, like they would stand at the pillars, and then they had like their special artifacts. So like for Rockhoof, it was a shovel, and for other people, it was like like flowers or whatever like represented their personalities and who they were. It was Mage Meadowbrook's mask, stuff like that. And so they have these 6 pillars, and they all stand at this pillar, and they got the Pony of Shadows in the middle, right? And at their pillars, they lay down their items, and they identify themselves as themselves, and they decide they're going to make this sacrifice. And so they all come together, and Star Swirl uses this huge magic spell. Everybody comes together, and they all boom in on the Pony of Shadows and basically trap them, right? And so that was thousands and thousands of years ago, and then they all get sent into purgatory. So all that's left, since they're all in limbo, all that's left are just these pillars, right? And it's really like beaten down. It's been a really long time, and so everything's kind of getting destroyed. But what the main six do, last thing, is they figure out everything here, and they get all the artifacts back. So after they get all the artifacts back, Twilight uses her spell, and they're all here, right? They're all together, like at the main six, and she casts this spell on everything, and she decides that, like, to her, it's more important to have these guys back into the world, and to have this like evil guy back into the world, and just so that, like, because she doesn't really know what's going to happen, but like basically what's going on is she's taking like this short-term gain of meeting like her favorite mentor and her favorite magician, like the best pony like that she could ever, like this huge powerful group of friends, and one of the most renowned like unicorns ever. She's taking the short-term gain of getting to meet them all, and what that's going to do, and we'll see in just a sec, is it can have like this huge negative impact of it also bringing back this super evil dude who wants to take over the world, which sucks. And so the episode basically ends with she launches this spell, she casts a spell, and these guys all come back, but with them, right, comes back this like super giant evil Pony of Shadows who like wants to take over the whole world again, because he's evil, right? And so they brought him out of limbo, and they turned it into a reality, and because of that, now they're sort of like screwing over their world just so they can have this like selfish connection and get back together with these really, really old, like huge group of people who made this sacrifice long ago to trap this thing. So we'll see how it works out. It's kind of interesting. And then this is what it looks like after the everyone comes back, because everyone's freaking out, and basically this guy's like, I'm gonna take over the world, so it's pretty intense. So here's part 2, and what they realize, at the beginning he's a little bit pissed. He's like, why did you summon us back and bring the Pony of Shadows? But like in the long term, right, if you think about it, it's kind of a good thing, because now they're not like trapped in limbo for their whole lives, and they can actually be together in reality, which is like pretty sweet. Like, I would rather be alive than dead. Like, that's kind of cool. And so they decide that, like, instead of arguing or just doing bogus stuff or separating themselves, right, instead of drawing this division between the old and the new, what they're going to do is come together and grow their sphere of influence and expand their relationships. So remember, like, they're making new friends, they're connecting with new people, and their mastermind, their power base, it's all growing. And so because it's growing in numbers, it's growing the amount of people that they have, it like geometrically and exponentially grows the power and the influence and the impact they can have together. Because 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is like, that's like 6. And so 6, that's like probably like 20, right? So if you have like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, that's like 20. But if you have 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, like, that's like basically 70. And so the impact is so much greater because it's this geometric curve, like the number of people that are in your power base and the number of people that are in this group and this connection and the impact that they all have together and the amount that like more and more people have, right? So people here, and I guess this would be impact, right? Or success, or the accomplishment that you can have, it just grows as you have more and more people connected with one single mission and fighting towards one common goal. And for these guys, their common goal is to defeat this giant, like, evil guy who wants to kill everybody. And so that's really like exactly what they do. Now at the beginning, it's not this easy, right? Like, the connection doesn't come instantly. There's a little bit of a disagreement between like the leaders of these two groups. So Twilight wants to use friendship, right, and befriend the Pony of Shadows and connect with him and figure out what's really going on here. Because obviously, like, there's some sort of huge underlying tension. And we sort of saw his backstory in the last episode. And he, like, had a really, really troubled childhood and really troubled growth. And so there's, like, big amounts of underlying tension. And Twilight wants to bring those to the surface and figure out, you know, what's really making this guy be super evil. Because it's not like he's just evil once. Like, he's consistently and persistently evil. Because of this exchange that he made and this deal that, like, where he took in all this evil spirit, which was just terrible. But Star Swirl the Bearded, he says that, you know, once evil, always evil. This guy can't change. People can't change. And he says that he's always going to be a terrible guy, and there's no way to make friends with him. And it's just terrible, right? Because you got to think about, like, the mindset shift with Twilight. She's got this really positive frame of mind, and she's saying, you know what? This is great. This guy's cool. One way or another, I know that we can make it work, and that we can figure out and we can find the better in him, and make him a success, and have really high amounts of impact by figuring out what's really going on here and then befriending the good in it. Versus Star Swirl, who's just like, no, blow him up, kill him, trap him in purgatory again, reset the spell, send us back there. Because he just doesn't have this different perspective that Twilight brings and that their friends bring as a group. They're always used to, like, brute force. And so, because their social group expands and their peer group expands and their mastermind expands, Twilight sort of slowly convinces him and reveals to him this new way of using a positive frame of mind instead of this negative one. And by using, like, actual real connection with him, she shows him that there is a better way. And it all comes from expanding your group so that you have more and more perspectives. And as you have more and more perspective, it's much easier to have a better result and better outcome, because more people can look at the situation and understand what the best thing for them and for the best thing for the group they could do as a team. And so they're sort of going through this process together, and they're figuring out what to do, how to succeed, and how to move on from this situation. And they basically get to, like, this huge like, throne room and the castle in the middle of the forest. And they all come together, and there's this massive standoff. And they have to realize that, like, you know, this is the face-off, right? I mean, they're either going to kill this guy or they're going to get killed. And so they have this, like, giant battle. And everyone comes together, and they decide, Star Swirl decides that they have to launch this spell, and they have to send him back into limbo, and they have to, you know, sacrifice themselves, which is so noble, for the betterment of the group. And they're going to do, like, basically the opposite of what Twilight just did, bringing these guys back to life and endangering a lot of people. But right before they can, you know, launch this spell and kill this guy and send him away forever, Twilight, she knows what's right, and she knows that, like, there's something going on here. And so Twilight, she's defending everyone. She's got, like, this huge force field around everyone. She, like, puts it down, and she goes out because she knows she has the right answer against the perspective of her, you know, like, Star Swirl is, like, really a big inspiration for her. And what she does is she basically sacrifices her relationship with Star Swirl, and she says that she is willing to walk away from Star Swirl because she knows that he's wrong in this situation. And because she's willing to walk away, and she's willing to do what she knows is right, as we're going to see in just a moment, it has a really profound impact on both of them. And she gains a ton of respect in his eyes, and it also really strengthens their relationship for the entire future of their lives together, which is so powerful. And it also connects these masterminds so much more, because now their leaders are in unity, and their leaders have a connection. And so she sort of, like, steps over Star Swirl, stands in front of him, and uses her power. She flies up into the pony of shadows, and she steps inside of him. She, like, walks into his being, and uses her magic. And as she gets inside this guy, she gets inside his body, and, like, the huge, like, evil monster that he's become, she finds, like, his true form. Remember, his true form is he's just some guy who's been overtaken by hatred and negativity and these bad emotions that have fundamentally destroyed, like, his whole life, his whole personality, which is terrible. And so she reaches out to him, and she touches him, and they hold hands, and she looks him in the eyes and realizes that there's, like, still good in him, and that he can still be saved, and that he can understand, you know, the error in his ways. And so he grabs her hand, and she rips him out of this huge force of evil, this huge body of evil, this huge like black smoke. And she just, right? She takes all this pain, all these years of negativity, all of this destruction that came, and just ends it as fast as it started. Like, bam, it's gone, right? Why? Because she knows it's so much more important for him to have himself, for him to have his own success, than it is for her to really, leverage this or whatever. And so she just rips him out. And as he comes out, the pony of shadows basically like floats away, disappears, and just gets destroyed. And everything is done. Everything ends. And as soon as that happens, like all of a sudden, Star Swirl, he realizes that there was a better way, and he starts to really understand that, like, wow, they can have this connection, and they can be with one another. They can have success by focusing on the good in others instead of the evil. And that's exactly what Twilight did, and it saved like basically the whole world, and also saved this guy's life. It's just so powerful. So they come back and they go to the Canalot, and everyone, they reunite with Celestia, and everyone comes together, and they form this massive group together. And from this point forward, they're all here. They're all a team. And it's so powerful, because now they have this huge amount of long-term growth that comes from them doing what? They had success, and they had an experience together, and they overcame adversity, overcame this challenge, and as two teams together, they combined, right? And they succeeded. And because of that, like, they're going to have this ridiculously strong connection and relationship from this point forward, because they trust each other, and because they have this confidence that gets built up in their groups and in their relationships, which is so powerful. And it all stems from like their ability to go out there and do things with one another and just make it happen and have this growth. And they basically like save everyone. It's the best thing ever, right? And it all stems from like Twilight's ability to just be bold and be brave, go out there, and in the face of failure, do what she is afraid to do, and do what most would challenge her for, and just freaking do it. Which is like the coolest thing ever, right? And they just grow and grow and grow, and then move on to this whole new period of their lives where they can survive and they can thrive and they can have huge success and be what they want to be and have the impact that they want to have, all because they expand their power. Remember, like originally, Star Swirl and his group, they weren't powerful enough to defeat this guy on their own because they just didn't have the group strength. But as Twilight comes in and as the main six join them, they become so much more powerful, and they can overcome this newfound enemy that on their own they would never have been able to defeat. But as this collective group, everything changes for them. We're going to see this theme kind of come over and over again. This idea that the group and the expanded group is so much more powerful than the individual. It's just freaking huge. And so that's really like the huge impact that comes from these connections and from these guys together, which is like the coolest thing ever, right? So yeah, sweet, awesome. We'll grab some food. Super hungry. I'm sure you guys are too. So that was awesome stuff, though. Really cool. So thank you guys so much. And we'll start season 8 soon enough. So super exciting. Go out there, crush it, apply it, and it'll be the coolest thing on the planet. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next one, and we'll be back together soon. So sweet, yeah.